Flack was born on February 10, 1937, in Farmville, North Carolina, to parents Laron Flack, a Veterans Administration draftsman, and Irene, née Council, Flack, a church organist. Some sources have cited 1939, but the 1940 census gives Roberta's age as 3 years old. She grew up in Arlington, Virginia. Growing up in a large, musical family, she often accompanied the choir of Lomax African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church by playing hymns and spirituals on piano, but she also enjoyed going to the Baptist church down the street to listen to contemporary gospel music, including songs performed by Mahalia Jackson and Sam Cooke. When Flack was 9, she took an interest in playing the piano. During her early teens, Flack excelled at classical piano, and Howard University awarded her a full music scholarship. By age 15, Flack entered Howard University in Washington, D.C., making her one of the youngest students ever to enroll there. She eventually changed her major from piano to voice and became an assistant conductor of the university choir. Her direction of a production of Ida received a standing ovation from the Howard University faculty. Flack became a student teacher at a school near Chevy Chase, Maryland. She graduated from Howard University at 19 and began graduate studies in music there, but the sudden death of her father forced her to take a job teaching music and English in Farmville, North Carolina. Before becoming a professional singer-songwriter, Flack returned to Washington, D.C., and taught at Banneker, Brown, and Rabot junior high schools. She also taught private piano lessons out of her home on Euclid Street, NW, in the city. During that time, her music career began to take shape on evenings and weekends in Washington area night spots. At the Tivoli Club, she accompanied opera singers at the piano. During intermissions, she would sing blues, folk, and pop standards in a back room, accompanying herself on the piano. Later, she performed several nights a week at the 1520 Club, again providing her own piano accompaniment. About this time, her voice teacher, Frederick Wilkerson, told her that he saw a brighter future for her in pop music than in the classics. Flack modified her repertoire accordingly, and her reputation spread. In 1968, she began singing professionally when she was hired to perform regularly at Mr. Henry's Restaurant, located on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Les McCann discovered Flack singing and playing jazz in a Washington, D.C. nightclub. He later said on the liner notes of what would be her first album, First Take, noted below, "Her voice touched, tapped, trapped, and kicked every emotion I've ever known. I laughed, cried, and screamed for more. She alone had the voice." Very quickly, he arranged an audition for her with Atlantic Records, during which she played 42 songs in 3 hours for producer Joel Dorn. In November 1968, she recorded 39 song demos in less than 10 hours. 3 months later, Atlantic reportedly recorded Flack's debut album, First Take, in a mere 10 hours. In 1971, Flack participated in the legendary Soul to Soul concert film by Dennis Sanders, which was headlined by Wilson Pickett along with Ike and Tina Turner, Santana, the Staple Singers, Les McCann, Eddie Harris, the Voices of East Harlem, and others. The U.S. delegation of musical artists was invited to perform for the 14th anniversary of African independence in Ghana. The film was digitally reissued on DVD and CD in 2004, but Flack declined permission for her image and recording to be included for unknown reasons. Her a cappella performance of the traditional spiritual "Oh Freedom" retitled "Freedom Song" on the original Soul to Soul LP soundtrack is only available in the VHS version of the film. Flack's cover version of "Will You Love Me Tomorrow" hit number 76 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1972. Her Atlantic recordings did not sell particularly well until actor/director Clint Eastwood chose a song from First Take, "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face," written by Ewan McColl, for the soundtrack of his directorial debut, Play Misty for Me. It became the biggest hit of the year for 1972, spending 6 consecutive weeks at number 1 and earning Flack a million-selling gold disc. It finished the year as Billboard's top song of 1972. The First Take album also went to number 1 and eventually sold 1.9 million copies in the United States. Eastwood, who paid $2,000 for the use of the song in the film, remained an admirer and friend of Flack's ever after. It was awarded the Grammy Award for Record of the Year in 1973. In 1983, She recorded the end music to the Dirty Harry film Sudden Impact at Eastwood's request. In 1972, Flack began recording regularly with Donny Hathaway, scoring hits such as the Grammy-winning Where Is the Love, 1972, and later The Closer I Get to You, 1978, both million-selling gold singles. Flack and Hathaway recorded several duets together, including 2 LPs, until Hathaway's 1979 death. On her own, Flack scored her second #1 hit in 1973, Killing Me Softly with his song, written by Charles Fox, Norman Gimbel, and Lori Lieberman. It was awarded both Record of the Year and Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female at the 1974 Grammy Awards. Its parent album was Flack's biggest-selling disc, eventually earning double platinum certification. In 1974, Flack released Feel Like Makin' Love, which became her third and final #1 hit to date on the Hot 100. She produced the single in her 1975 album of the same name under the pseudonym Rubina Flake. In 1974, Flack sang the lead on a Sherman Brothers song called Freedom, which featured prominently at the opening and closing of the movie Huckleberry Finn. In the same year, she performed When We Grow Up with a teenage Michael Jackson on the 1974 television special, Free to Be You and Me, and a year later performed 2 Johnny Marks songs, To Love and Be Loved, and When Autumn Comes for the 1975 animated Christmas special, The Tiny Tree. In February 2012, Flack released Let It Be Roberta, an album of Beatles covers including Hey Jude and Let It Be. It was her first recording in over 8 years. Flack knew John Lennon and Yoko Ono, as both lived in the Dakota apartment building in New York City and had apartments next door to each other. Flack said that she had been asked to do a second album of Beatles covers. In 2013, she was reported to be involved in an interpretative album of the Beatles classics. At the age of 80, Flack recorded Running for the closing credits song of the 2018 feature documentary 3100, Run and Become with music and lyrics by Michael A. Levine. Flack was a member of the Artist Empowerment Coalition, which advocates for artists to have the right to control their creative properties. She was also a spokeswoman for the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Her appearance in commercials for the ASPCA featured The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. The Hyde Leadership Charter School in the Bronx, NYC, ran an after-school music program called the Roberta Flack School of Music to provide free music education to underprivileged students in partnership with Flack, who founded the school. From 1966 to 1972, she was married to Steve Novosel. Flack was the aunt of professional ice skater Rory Flack. She was also the godmother of musician Bernard Wright, who died in an accident on May 19, 2022. For a time, Flack had an apartment in the Dakota building in New York City that was right next door to the apartment of Yoko Ono and Sean Lennon. Lennon referred to her as Aunt Roberta. According to DNA analysis, she was of Cameroonian descent. In 2018, Flack was appearing on stage at the Apollo Theater at a benefit for the Jazz Foundation of America. She became ill, left the stage, and was rushed to the Harlem Hospital Center. In a statement, her manager announced that Flack had a stroke a few years prior and still was not feeling well, but was doing fine and being kept overnight for medical observation. In late 2022, it was announced by a spokesperson that Flack had been diagnosed with ALS and had retired from performing, due to the disease making it impossible to sing. Flack died on February 24, 2025, at the age of 88. Initial reports stated that she died at home among her family. However, her manager, Suzanne Koga, stated she died from a cardiac arrest on her way to the hospital in Manhattan.